This is Jay Michaels. I'm a professor of media communication at several universities, and I have been clocking horror, science fiction, and fantasy for over 50 years. And I'm thrilled to bring you some fantastic television here on the Boston Sci-Fi channel. Now, the Boston Sci-Fi channel is the brainchild of the Boston Sci-Fi Film Festival, a 48-year-old genre film festival, which is, if not the oldest, then one of the oldest in this country and one of the oldest in the world for genre film festivals. So we're thrilled, and over these nearly 50 years have brought some amazing stories to life. And we have a room full of people, so I am not going to belabor such points and get right to them. I want to introduce my co-host, Jen Bush. Jen, how are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you very much. Thrilled to be here, and even more thrilled to hear about all these interesting films.
Jen is a writer about town. Jen reviews for theater and film. Jen also writes articles for Five Star Arts Journal. And she's had the good fortune to write all the listings for everything you're going to see in the Boston Sci-Fi program. So she's sitting here right now nodding, going, oh, you're the one with the movie about the spaceship, and you're the one. Okay. So it's sort of like a big blind date for her, I think. So okay, but let's get right to it, and let's go ladies first. There's one young lady here, Miriam. You're amid all of these auteurs here. Tell us about your movie. What's new with you?
So hi, I'm Miriam. Nice to meet everybody. My movie is a horror comedy short, and it's the logline is a young couple goes on the tour of their first home, and they get more than they bargained for.
That's great. Yours is my favorite kind, and I'm not going to say my favorite kind of movie. I'm going to say my favorite kind of coming attractions. I love the horror haunted house documentaries. The Smiths thought this was the ideal home to raise their family until that night. Love it. Love it. Miriam, what's different about yours? What makes this a new take?
I mean, it's a secret what the monster is. It's your guess what it is, so it's up to your interpretation.
I like that a lot. I like that a lot. Who is that creature? It's up to us. Who was it? Darren McGavin, who was in The Night Stalker, the great series of the 70s. And he said the real horror is not the guy in the rubber mask. The real horror is alone in a room, and someone knocks on your door, you go and answer it, and there's no one there. So I think you're playing on that. And a horror comedy. I love a good horror comedy because you just naturally, so many points you want to laugh in a film. And so you're kind of saying, okay, go ahead. You can laugh. Don't worry.
Yeah, pretty much.
Looking forward to it. Thank you. Mikhail, tell us about you. Tell us about your film.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor to be amongst all of you guys, and I'm very excited for the festival. I'm the director of a short film called Like Us. It's a story about a devoted caretaker who discovers an alien incapable of experiencing emotions, and through teaching it humanity, uncovers the complexities of her own understanding of love and the true meaning of connection.
Wow. Yes, please go on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty much a sci-fi drama with a few things to think about, I guess, after the movie ends, and that was kind of the whole idea is to pack a controversial issue into a sci-fi genre to make it entertaining and accessible to people.
So it's about teaching someone how to love.
Yeah, and what do we think that is? Because love is such a concept that there's so many different variations of love, and everybody kind of has their own idea. And sometimes love can kind of get into controversial forms, I guess.
Wow, that's great. That's great. I'm hearing a lot of films about AI, and a comment people are making through inference, if you will, is like, does AI have a soul? Does AI have that? Does AI have a heart? Can they eventually have a heart? You're sort of showing, you're sort of going from the other side of it. Let's see our heart.
Yeah, exactly, because I think by contrasting us as humans, I mean, we can try to be as logical as we want, intellectual as we want, but underneath there's everything bubbling all the time, and taking that kind of emotional existence and paralleling with complete and utter logic and kind of deprived of emotions. I think when you do that contrast, that's where you can find something new about yourself. Like what does it mean for you? Like love aspect in this particular case.
I look forward to your film. I
Thank you.
truly look forward to that. The concept of love, the concept of the soul, that's coming into play a great deal in a lot of science fiction these days, and I could see that in yours. Very cool. Very, very cool. Thank you. Ken,
Thank you.
Ken, how are you going to make us think with your film?
Well, first off, thank you for having me. I'm the DP on a feature film called UFO Club. I'm representing because unfortunately our writer-director wasn't able to make it. But it's a film by a guy by the name of Steven Sapelis. And UFO Club is a period rom-com, actually. It takes place in 1998. And the premise of it is that it's a nerdy high school senior who finds out that his mentor, a ufologist, has been imprisoned, he thinks wrongly, and he's going to hunt down a piece of tape evidence that he will exonerate him. The problem is that the videotape is in the hands of a very intimidating female classmate of his. So he has to find a way of overcoming his social anxieties and talking to this girl to find this videotape. And the two of them fall in love, and he questions whether or not either side in this has some kind of motive. Who can he trust? Can he trust this girl that he never really knew before? Does he trust this mentor that he's looked up to for years, but now seems increasingly shady? And it's kind of, takes place in the kind of realm of X-Files fandom and a lot of kind of the late 90s interest in paranormal stuff like that. But it's a very sweet, high school rom-com set amidst the backdrop of the kind of, geeky sci-fi kids.
We're getting a lot of American Horror Story out of you, in the sense you're creating a salad for us of science fiction. American Horror Story, they'll throw every kind of thing into one story, and we watch how it blends. And you're giving us the controversial sort of prisoner epic with a romantic twist, and let's throw a little scholastic thing in there. So we're getting a whole bunch of things with yours also.
Yeah, what I wish Stephen were here to talk about, because this is based on it's funny to say this is based on a true story, no, but it's based on personal experience he had where kind of a loony we're both and I still, but on his line, a local public access UFO guy came to his high school and started a UFO club, and then later that guy was in fact imprisoned for trying to poison a congressman. And such a tape that the movie purports to have supposedly existed, and was part of this club that Stephen was in high school. And it's a very, there's a show within a show. There's a public access show that it takes place in the film. And as the DP, when we were storyboarding this, I said, okay, what's the reference for this? And Stephen was sending me YouTube links of this actual show. And if you had described to me what we were trying to shoot, I would have laughed at you and said, this doesn't exist. No one's going to buy this. But it's exactly what was happening in 1998 in public access, in our area. I just wasn't aware of it at the time.
I love public access. I remember it well. I remember being on public access programs back in the 90s. I remember working with the hosts of so many of those public access shows. So UFOs, public access, you got me. Okay, I'm in the theater with a box of popcorn. Can't wait to see that. And let's see if love triumphs amid the controversy that you're handing us.
That's the question, exactly.
And it's based on a true story. Oh yeah,
can't beat it.
That excellent, good. Looking forward to it. Matt, tell us about your film.
Hi, Matt Steinauer. I'm the writer-director of Mind Thief, a feature. Basically it's, well, me and my writing partner had just watched or rewatched Rear Window. So it's kind of like a Rear Window meets a lot of mind control kind of sci-fi elements, and just trying to package it into a fun mystery thriller. So yeah, that's basically what we did. So mhm.
Interesting. I'm writing a book called Hidden Monsters, where I discuss the parables within even the most obscure movies. And you're hitting a very particular trope that we're seeing a lot of nowadays, and that's the I don't believe it's real until it's real philosophy. And
Right.
Rear Window has that, because you're looking into someone else's life, and are you sure what you're seeing is real or not? So
Right.
you're taking that to the fantastical element with this.
Yeah, and also kind of have like unreliable narrator also as well, because you don't know how much mind control has happened already. So,
Oh my goodness, so cool. Okay, so we don't necessarily we can't just assume that what's true we're not so sure of yet.
yeah, it gets kind of twisty. Yeah, hopefully it's enjoyable for everyone, but yeah, it's
Good.
fun.
Good. Give me twists. Give me twists. I pride myself on being able to do the math in a movie, and
Excellent.
very few movies stop me from doing the math. Saw comes to mind. I did not realize the end until it happened.
I shot actually in that area that they shot like 2 months after. I was DPing something a long time ago, and so I was just looking at that room going, what happened here? You know, so yeah.
That's great. That's great. Good. Good. I hope I can't do the math on yours. Keep me at the edge of my seat. Good for you. Gabriel. Gabriel, tell us about you and your film.
It's a historical film. It takes place in 1867 in a location unknown, I guess maybe somewhere in northern Canada. I play a prospector, and I come across a medallion that's never been seen before, and I guess somebody's following me and chasing my character, so we don't know what's going on. But the producers here, they came up with the idea, and maybe they can let you.
Gabriel starred in our film. It was directed by BJ Verreau. It's called Incident 1867. It's a bit of a kind of a true story thing as well, in that we sort of took a bit of Canadiana. There's a somewhat famous UFO story that came out of the area of Falcon Lake in 1967. A gentleman had an experience with a UFO encounter, and it made it into the news. It's a kind of a bit of one of the more storied ones from Canada here. They end up making a coin out of it, the mint and stuff, so everyone knows that what we did was supposed that this happened 100 years earlier, and had just like made up some events around that. It's a bit of a like Saturday afternoon matinee. Doesn't have a lot of deep notes to it. Good romping time and some UFO and some nice period stuff. We put Gabriel here in a nice costume, got him a gun, and went out and had some fun in the bush.
That's really interesting. I'm seeing a lot of that, especially in UFO films, saying, okay, what happened? And it's this year, the Boston Sci-Fi Film Festival is honoring Doctor Who, because Doctor Who is 60 years this year. And Doctor Who is famous for that. He suddenly goes and, okay, Queen Victoria meets an alien creature and whatever. And you're sort of doing that. You're giving us history, but you're rewriting it just a bit to include the fantastical. Was it harder? I'm asking you, and I'm asking BJ, because I see all of you there. I love the table there with your logo on it. Someone there's a marketing person, and that's how that should be.
We're heavy art department people, so
there you go. Was it more difficult when you do a period piece? Is it more difficult to put that together than doing something more contemporary?
Yeah, I would say everything just becomes a little bit more difficult. You have to take into account what was period correct. All the costumes have to correspond to what you're planning to shoot. And yeah, whereas with a contemporary film, you take for granted the cars people are driving in or the houses that they're walking around in. So yeah, we had to give all of that some consideration. And on top of that, Gabe plays a prospector. So we're out in the middle of the forest, and we're fighting with insects the size of my fist, and so you're dealing with a lot of aspects. But like Jason and Scott had said, they have a lot. They come from special effects and art, and I think a ton of that reflects in the film. I think it looks amazing.
Uh, do you have no problem with rewriting history a bit? I just saw a movie with my dear friend Bill Oberst. He played Abraham Lincoln in Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies, and they basically rewrote a good piece of history utilizing that. And even Quentin Tarantino in some of his movies, he suddenly look Sharon Tate's living in his film, and this is happening that shouldn't have happened. Um,
Yeah, well,
Science
taking that
fiction.
as
Do you like that? Do you get a kick out of rewriting history?
We'll let Scott answer that one.
yeah, so taking that as your starting point is a good place to jump off from. If you take something that's not actual history, but imagine that something could have happened in that time, that's where a lot of your ideas can spring from when you're coming up with your story.
Very
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of that, I personally I have no problem messing around with history. I think you know the film is inspired by true events, but by no means does it need to walk that path. I think you can start with that and deviate and have a lot of fun, and I think that's what Incident has going for it.
I look forward to that. Jen, I know you're a costume person. You enjoy the word. You enjoy festoonery. You enjoy things like that. How do you feel about costume dramas? How do you feel about a play like this? Pardon me, a film, the period piece.
Oh, I love it. I love the idea of it. And I bet everybody looked fantastic in their costumes. Oh yeah.
We were blessed enough to have some, like, again, we're heavy on art department and we work in the service level industry. We had a costume designer, Lauren Martin, and our piece was originally actually supposed to be in the winter, and she handcrafted period specific with the stitching and the patterns, because Gabriel's also Métis, so we paid attention to what he would have been wearing, and she went all out on it. And it was a heartbreaker when we didn't shoot in the winter due to COVID. We moved it to summer, and she just kicked into gear and did the whole same thing with like summer stuff. She did a fantastic job.
That's so amazing and so fortunate. I can't wait to see it.
Whenever I watch a period science fiction, a period horror film, I look at the clothing, and for me, that's the thing. If you see that kind of attention to detail, then you know you're in a film of quality. So I look forward to that myself. Gabriel Foster Pryor. I see we have two Gabriels, so I have to be clear. So now I'm pointing at you. Tell me about your film.
It's me this time.
Yep.
I very nearly started talking over the last Gabriel. It's quite unusual for there to be two of them. So yeah, I'm Gabriel Foster Pryor I'm in Brighton, England. The film's a British sci-fi comedy called The Bystanders. Bystanders are invisible beings, each assigned to look after one human. So basically, they're kind of like guardian angels. But bystanders don't have wings, they don't have halos. And rather than being noble creatures, they're responsible and irrational and have a lot of kind of human faults. So the story is a friendship movie between an enthusiastic newbie and his world-weary mentor. And the world-weary mentor hates the human he has to look after, because this human smokes weed and plays computer games all day, and he has to stand and watch him do that, and it's very boring. So he wants to try and get rid of this human subject, and the two main characters swap who they're looking after, which sends their lives into chaos, like a kind of mad game of chess where they're being used as the pawns. So yeah, we have a cast of UK comedians and up and coming actors and some established actors. We've actually got there's a slight connection to the Doctor Who thing you've got going on at the festival this year, in the sense that our lead actor Scott Harron was the lead in a show called Wizards versus Aliens, which was written by Russell T Davies, the showrunner from the new Doctor Who's. So yeah, so that's the film.
That's great. That's great. I'm gonna throw a curveball at you. The weird question.
Oh, please
that I'm going
do.
to ask you. British science fiction, British horror. One could talk all about the European influence, if you will. What distinctifies British fantasy from other fantasy? Because when we look at these characters, even though Bram Stoker was he wasn't British necessarily, eventually the British seem to have a particular take on fantasy and on horror, etc. What's different about the British sensibility when we're talking about horror and science fiction?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I think there's a slight kind of downplaying that British people like to do. Like we kind of like to laugh at our own kind of smallness and insignificance, and that you have a lot of films where the hero is just a kind of an everyman, and it's almost kind of humorous to us that something so kind of magical could take place in a, like a small town in England. So you have like Edgar Wright, Shaun of the Dead. It's like, there's zombies taking over the world, but what they do is they just go to the pub and argue over who's having the peanuts, and there's that kind of downplaying, I think, that's very British. I think, I mean, you could possibly say as well that there's a lot of kind of emphasis on character, but I reckon that's probably true of, just good genre rather than. But I think British tend to be they tend to be quite good at making the focus on the characters rather than the kind of just ins and outs of the plot.
I tend to agree with you. I noticed that, of course, I'm a devotee of Doctor Who, and I noticed that there's a real attention to detail in the characters. They're heaped in history in so many ways, even in the way they speak. I get a real there's a real distinctification, if you will, from British fantasy as opposed to anywhere else. So it's really fascinating.
And hopefully, if there's lots of Doctor Who fans at the festival, that's a good start.
Oh,
hopefully that means they'll like this film.
Count
Not saying
on
it's
that.
as good as Doctor Who, but it's a good start, at least right direction.
From what I'm told, well, firstly, I'm going to be interviewing two filmmakers who did a documentary on Doctor Who fans that's premiering at the festival.
Oh, I've heard about that. I heard that's great. Yeah.
And I can't wait at the opening inaugural event. There's going to be a Dalek roaming around. They built a Dalek that's going to be there. They told me how
cool.
they did it. And I'm not gonna say, but I just thought it was absolute brilliance. So I look forward to your film, and I look forward to seeing it at this event, and all the Doctor Who fans just going, right, marvelous. Can't wait.
They're having the Doctor Who ball as the inaugural event.
That's right, the Time Travelers Ball. That's where our angry Pepperpot's going to be walking around. That's absolutely great. That's absolutely great. Colton, tell me about your movie.
Hi, how are you, Jay? Hi, so I'm Colton Novichinsky, by the way. I am hailing from Vancouver, BC, Canada, and I just been a VFX artist for the past 7 years of my life, working VFX animation. And throughout those years, been working on many films, and through that experience, I've tried to apply it to my own short film, Eosphere, which I'm the writer, director, and VFX supervisor. And it's about a grieving scientist who struggles to accept help from his own robotic creation, which is trying to address the cause of his guilt. And my short film is trying to pose or ask the question, can someone overcome their insurmountable guilt or loss in their life? And if so, how do they do that?
And they do it by building something artificial to try to find it.
Perhaps.
That's brilliant. That's
yes.
really brilliant. We do that naturally. We always try to find a quick cure. We always try to a quick fix.
Right. We find our lead character, Carl Adler, like very disassociated and shutting everyone out from the world. And it takes his own robotic creation to try to wean him out and prod at him as to why he's doing so. And you'll see in the short film later on as to why that's so. And I think the root core of it all, it's trying to quell, or as you said, quash any fear of showing emotions or trying to open up to others.
I'm fascinated, and I laud science fiction and fantasy because I think we cannot learn if we think people are trying to teach us. if
Right.
that makes any sense. When someone says, you need to do this, this will help you, we immediately put a wall up and say we can't do it. But we'll watch a fantasy film where, okay, the robot's going to teach the spaceman all about it, and it's the same message that someone's trying to teach us, but we'll believe it if it's up on a screen, if it's up on a stage, as opposed to us. We say, no, I don't want to hear it. But when Darth Vader's telling it to Luke Skywalker, then we go, oh, that makes all the sense. Yeah, that's great. So you're sneaking up behind us and trying to teach us something. Well done.
Exactly. I hope so. And that's the theater is the perfect place for everyone to shed some tears, hopefully, and all together trying to take a message from hopefully what I'm trying to say in my short film. So, yeah.
You're already teaching, because that's how I judge it. When I look at an audience, as you all are in this sense, as we're chatting, as Colton was talking about it, many of you suddenly went, so okay, you're getting it. So it's definitely working out there already. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jay.
My pleasure. Shahab, you and your partner are smiling from ear to ear. You're having too good a time and you haven't said anything yet. Got to hear about your movie. Tell us about what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, hello everyone. My English is not enough. I have to explain with a bit Farsi about my film. And my friend is here and help me for translate.
Don't worry about it. I'm from the Bronx. My English is not that great.
But he's good. Okay. سلام. ممنونم برای این گفتگو. Hello, nice to be here in this interview. اصلی ترین علاقه من برای فیلمسازی اقتباس از آثار نویسنده های خوب و بزرگه. My main interest in making a movie is adaptation of literary work. و علاقه‌مندم که مستقل فیلم بسازم با هزینه پایین و با معنای عمیق و قابل توجه. And I'm interested in making movie with low budget and with a spiritual concepts. I mean, independent cinema with a spiritual concept. و آثار آقای اریک امانوئل اشمیت، نویسنده فوق‌العاده خوب فرانسوی، همیشه مورد علاقه من بوده و من از فن‌های ایشون هستم. Yeah, I was fond of Eric Emmanuel Schmidt works, and I was a big fan of him. And the work that we adapted from it is Between Worlds, a play called Between Worlds. و استادی داشتم که همیشه یه جمله جالبی میگفت فیلم خوب فیلمیه که وقتی جلوی چشم تماشاگر تموم شد در ذهن تماشاگر شروع میشه. I had a master who always said a good movie is the one when it finished by watching it start in the mind of the audience. و این خاصیت رو کارای آقای اشمیت همیشه برای من داشته. And this specified factor I always see it in the works of Mr. Schmidt. و من در یه تایم کوتاه در 21 روز این فیلم رو در کار کردم، در حالی که در همون دوران در حال بازی در یک تئاتر روی صحنه هم بودم و بعد از تئاتر مجبور بودم بیام فیلم برداری انجام بدم. Very good. I made this movie in a short time, 21 day, while I was playing role in another work. و بهترین اتفاقی هم که تا الان برای این فیلم افتاده اینه که خود آقای اریک امانوئل اشمیت نویسنده اون نمایشنامه فیلم رو دیدن و خدا رو شکر من خیلی خوشحالم که ایشون از فیلم خوششون اومد و یه نوت خوبم برای اول فیلم لطف کردن نوشتن. Yeah, and the best thing happened for this movie was that the writer watched the movie and liked it, and he wrote a fascinating note about it. Yeah, you know, the theme of this movie is somehow sci-fi and spiritual and a bit horror. You know, it talks about life and death and the world after life. You know.
And what afterlife?
رابطه بین انسان ها که آقای اشمیت سعی کرده در نمایشنامه‌اش این رو در یک فضای برزخگونه‌ای بین مرگ و زندگی تعریف کنه. You know, the play is between worlds. It's something in the middle of the life and death. The relationship between humans and life and death. This is the main theme.
You bring up a really interesting point because I'm thinking of a line in the Avengers where Loki looks at Thor as his hammer is conducting lightning and thunder and all of that, and Loki says, "It's no wonder they think we're gods."
Avenger رو میگه یه صحنه فیلم اونجر که اون چکشش رو چیز میکنه و بین مرگ و زندگی. Yeah, that's exactly the same meaning. Yeah.
So you're sort of saying, okay, who exactly are we praying to? What exactly are we are we asking for help? So you're really
سوال شما اینه که ما کیو
spirituality.
پرستش میکنیم و کی قراره ناجی ما باشه و به ما کمک میکنه. سوال توی فیلم اینو مطرح میکنید که خدا مثلا کیه و من خودم درباره معنای فیلم به عنوان یک کارگردان ایده معنایی ندارم. تلاش کردم که ایده ای رو که در ذهن آقای اشمیت بود رو فقط به تصویر بکشم به عنوان یه فیلمساز و علت اینکه اقتباس رو دوست دارم اینه که خود من دیگه مسئولیت معنا رو به عهده نمیگیرم و صرفا به عنوان یک فیلمساز سعی میکنم اون اثر رو از یک اثر مکتوب به یه اثر تصویری تبدیل کنم.
As a director, I didn't add anything to the movie. I just want to depict the ideas of the writer, you know, and showing the word of the writer in this artwork.
I'm sure some of your own brilliance is in there somewhere. You're being very humble.
Thank you, thank you.
I give you a lot of credit also on another aspect. In our last interview, there was a gentleman who spoke Japanese and he didn't speak a great deal of English, and his interpreter, if you will, had to stand behind his poster. He had his interpreter standing behind his poster. So he would speak, and then suddenly we'd see someone just go, "They're asking you about," and then come back.
فیلم قبلی یه ژاپنی بود که انگلیسی بلد نبود، مترجمش پشت پوستر طرف وایساده بود. That was very interesting.
So at least you're given a chair. At least you're
Yes.
chair.
This kind of interpretation is better.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it for a lot of levels because this is international, because we're taking a plot that is relevant to so many of us, but we're seeing it from another point of view. And when you are saying spiritual, you're not,
شما رو بشنوم چون شما یک دنیای دیگه هستیم و جور دیگه می‌بینید. Yeah, that's
you're not
really
saying
interesting.
spiritual like we're saying spiritual. It's a different kind.
همین
That's
شما
brilliant.
معناگرا نیست، ما مثل شما معناگرا نیستیم. من فکر میکنم که روابط انسان ها خیلی فراتر از قومیت های مختلف، نژادهای مختلف یا زبان ها یا کشورهای مختلفه. یه چیزایی وجود داره مثل مرگ، زندگی و صداقت، دروغ یا این چیزا، اینا برای همه مردم دنیا یک معنای واحد داره. بنابراین من وقتی درباره روابط بین انسان ها فیلم میسازم احساس میکنم که این فیلم ممکنه در جاهای دیگه دنیا به درستی فهم بشه. I think the relation between humans are
abroad. I mean beyond the nations, languages, and geographical regions. The concepts like death, life, lie, honesty, these things are among humanity, and we cannot limit them to a nation. It's worldwide concepts. When I made a movie, I tried to depict this worldwide concept.
I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed. You've taken a
Fantastic.
major theme and you're handing it to us with your heart. And I think that's wonderful. I think that's
Yeah, that's a great comment from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
We hope the audience in this festival enjoy the movie and like it a lot.
Well, we're going to find out very soon. So I'm
Very good.
thrilled. Jason, tell me about Checkpoint.
Hey, yes, I'm Jason. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. Checkpoint is a sci-fi action movie about a guy that wakes up in prison on a sort of a desolate alien planet, and he has to overcome some trials in order to get back to somebody that he lost in a past life. But it's sort of like a blend between sci-fi, horror, and video game influences, and is a 10-minute standalone short, but also something that we're sort of developing as a potential series. So it's sort of acting as a proof of concept as well for us.
I get a real kick out of proof of concepts. I'm working on one right now, actually, and it's really thrilling because you're able to gestate an idea in a safe format, or a safe format, and so you can really see how it goes before you invest the millions in the full length. And you're very smart, hybriding science fiction, fantasy, video games, the whole works. You're opening up your demographic very well. When you say he wakes up, he does not know why he's in prison?
No, and it's sort of, I could explain it. I would end up spoiling the film for anybody that might see it. But yeah, you do find out sort of why he was pulled there, and the series would expand upon it more. But yeah, we wanted to try and just figure out a way to, my buddies and I started off, I made a feature, and I kind of did it backwards. I did the feature first, and now I'm just making shorts for that reason, where it's just sort of, well, I can, knock out a short in 5 or 6 months and at a fraction of the cost, and just play around with some different ideas and genres and storylines and just try to see maybe what I want to build out next. But yeah, it's just, honestly, it's just been purely just for the enjoyment of it. And like I said, it's something that we can kind of more easily finance and find time for. So it's been kind of just a nice experiment to play with a bunch of different genres, mostly in the sci-fi horror space, but.
That's great. That's great. I look forward to seeing how it hybrids, how we go from film into video game. I look forward to seeing that. So many, they're just doing it now. There's a series from the movie Let the Right One In, which was I believe it was Swedish. It was Swedish. Is it Swedish or Danish film? I don't remember, pardon me, but it was this brilliant foreign film, became a really brilliant American movie, or it wasn't American, it was English. A brilliant English movie, and now it's going to be a series. So I'm seeing how the film itself, this little box that we're in, literally has a life of its own, and you're breathing multiple life into yours as well. Very cool. Very cool.
Thank you
to that. And my son, who adores video games, even though he's in his 30s and still loves video games, I have a feeling he'll be interested in this one as well. Good luck with that. Rudy, thank you for joining us. Tell us about your movie.
Hi there. My name is Rudy. I made a film called Ham, H-A-M, like the Christmas dinner. Ham is a puppet film, actually, and it's a whimsical interpretation about the first chimp in space. And it was produced by Heather Henson. She's the daughter of Jim Henson, and she put together a grant for puppet filmmakers to create work for her film series Handmade Puppet Dreams. So that's how my film got started. I pitched an idea to them, and they liked it, and we went with it.
So the first chip in space is a puppet?
He is a puppet, yes, and this is him right here. I brought him to say hi.
That's great. That's great. And it solves the big problem. You don't have to have that thing at the end of the credits. No animals were harmed in the filming.
No animals were harmed. Yeah. I mean, and that actually brings up a good point. Oh, I'm getting a call, decline. That actually brings up a good point. You know, it's a sad story. You know, the first chimp in space, he made it back to Earth successfully, but there were a lot of animals that didn't. And, you know, he was plucked from his home in the Congo. So I wanted to show, you know, William Shatner said it when he talked about going into outer space. He said, outer space is actually quite lonely, and he longed for the beauty that was back on Earth. And there's a small scene in my film that shows Ham in this adventurous tale. It's really a fantastical reimagining of what might have happened in that capsule. But there's a moment when he kind of sees the stars and he looks out into outer space and he kind of feels a little bit of a tinge for the life he might have had if he was allowed to be a chimp. I know it's kind of sad, but it really is a colorful film. It's inspired by like 1950s kids shows like the Thunderbirds or Gumby. Yeah, that's the film.
You do something very smart with this, having it be a puppet. Obviously, now you don't have to worry about, you know, the chimp, trying to train the chimp to do what you need to do, but also you're personifying the animal so that it, as much as it's a chimp, it looks very human from my little box here. And it's gonna give a lot of messages in terms of how we treat each other. It's how we treat the world around us. You're sneaking in a lot of very powerful, very heartfelt messages there without making us say, what is it? You allow us to step into the film entirely. If it was an actual chimp, if you had actual animals, laugh at me. The first few episodes of Walking Dead, there's this sequence where there's a horse and the horse is attacked by all the walkers and whatever. And I remember my wife, who's an animal activist, when we watched it, she said, oh, that horse must have been going through some terrible things during the filming. And so she couldn't immerse herself in it because she was worried about the horse, for heaven's sake.
Yeah.
We don't have that with yours. We can immerse ourselves in the message because we know no chimps were harmed in the filming of this movie. And you're really giving us a chance to open our hearts to the movie. Clever, very, very clever. And puppets can work overtime. So let's just
they can.
Let's just say that. Well done. And Heather Hansen is doing this, Jim Henson's daughter.
Yeah, she has a company. It's called Ibex Puppetry, and she does a lot of puppet slams. She provides a lot of space for up and coming puppeteers to create work for theater and film. And she's got a series on Amazon. It's called Handmade Puppet Dreams. So actually, I think Ham might premiere on that in the future. We're waiting to find out, but yeah, she makes a lot of great opportunities for young puppeteers.
If you're going to be a chef, you call Gordon Ramsay. If you're going to be a puppeteer, you call a Henson. I think really right on. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
I love puppet movies. I'm sorry. I love all those cursed doll, cursed puppet, you know, the inanimate object coming to life movie. Love them. The moment you held up the puppet, I was like, okay, fine, I'm in. Got to go see this. Well done. Well, there he is. Well done. Theodore, take us home. Tell us about your film.
Hello, I'm Theodore Rousseff, born in Bulgaria, living in Canada now, in Paris, in France. My film is called Phi 1.618, which is the number of the golden ratio. It is the only second Bulgarian film which is sci-fi. And I'm very happy that it was possible to do it. Actually, it's my first live action film. I've been into the animation for 20 years already. So it was like a new step for me, new challenge. In short, the synopsis of the film, the tagline is the human race has become immortal. So it doesn't need love, it doesn't need books, it doesn't need feelings. Everything that it needs is to get rid of the people that are populating the Earth. So they need to move on a huge spaceship
and move out to the open space. This is in short, but as we know, all the big plans at some point they just crash into some little obstacle, some little man who just changes the path of history, as we know it from history. Actually, it's a dystopian film about the totalitarian regimes and all the big ideas that they have that always crash at the end of the page, at the end of the history.
Really interesting. You said human race becomes immortal. Did I hear right when you said that?
Exactly. Yeah.
You have two thoughts, and then they have to leave the earth. They have to get rid of the.
Exactly, because there's some mortal people left on the earth and who are populating it.
You're hitting two very strong things. There was a classic film called When Worlds Collide about the human race having to leave the earth to find a planet that could survive them because the earth was ending. So we have that. And then we have the Ray Bradbury story, Pillars of Fire, which is about the last corpse on earth and how they've abolished death. So you're hitting two very strong themes with yours. That's really great. I'm working with Bill Oberst Jr. and he's doing a one-man show of Pillars of Fire. So the notion of immortality is coming into play. Now, how did they get to be immortal? Is that something you can share with us? How did they get to be immortal?
Oh, just a question of some scientific experiments. I think that the time that we get into this, it's coming very soon. I truly believe that one day we will become immortal as well. So we don't discuss this in the film. It's been done in the past. It's a premise to start the story. But actually, what I think is that the biggest gift that we have is that we are mortal. Because being immortal is just losing your time. It means that you don't have any gifts, you don't have any ambitions, you don't count the time, and everything is lost. So we are very happy that we are mortal. So that's why what the film is about, and we won't need the history, we won't need the books. I'm very happy that you mentioned Ray Bradbury, because there is some references in my film to Fahrenheit, to Ray Bradbury, where they're burning the books. Because in my film, they're also burning the books before they try to digitalize it, but the books they don't need them anymore, because being immortal, it means that you tend to forget your past, you tend to forget your memories. And actually, the memories are everything that we have left, because this is what stops us being to do mistakes, being stupid and repeat the mistakes of the past, which is what every totalitarian regime and dictature in the world is doing now. So it's a dystopian film with many references to the political situation right now and to the world that we live right now.
Really interesting. Really interesting. I'm remembering a quote. I can't remember where I heard it. We love a rose because a rose will die. No one loves a stone.
Exactly.
And this is really interesting. I think this is a genre that survives so well. And I think if we all truly became immortal, I think so much of what makes us fascinating and what makes science fiction and horror so compelling is because we're going to die. We immediately think, we could expire, and these are the myriad ways it can happen. And if we didn't, well, then why bother talking about the living dead? Because we're all the living now. Or why bother talking about even AI? I think AI, when you look at it, is around because we want to be immortal. And how do we make a never-ending version of ourselves? So you're hitting it on the nose. A lot of subtlety in here about that same sort of imagery, but yours hitting it right on the nose. Really interesting. Really, really interesting. Now, you've been an animator up until now, so now your first live action?
Yeah, I was doing short animated films for 20 years, and I've been even nominated for an Oscar with one of my animated films. So I just decided to shift to another field of art because, well, you have to try everything, huh? And actually, in my film, there is some animation, so the knowing how the animation works helps me to do the things in a little budget without spending, without selling my kidney, and so it helps.
I can be snarky and give an answer to this, but I want to hear yours. Which is easier, animation or real people?
Real people.
It's
Real
easier?
people are easier. Yes, it is. Sorry to say, but it's much easier. And you have much more fun with it because the animation is a lonely business. You stay alone for decades, and even if you work with a big team, it's still you stay alone, kind of.
The last panel we just had, that seemed to be an overarching theme, the notion of community, of coming together. And as much as we have all this technology, we still long for the human touch. So I guess you're saying that now, which is really interesting. I would have said, please give me animation. They don't need a break. You know, Rudy's puppet going to work as long as Rudy says he's going to work, and that's
coming. It's coming. There'll be more animation for sure. But in my film, there is at least 8 minutes of animation. So if you love animation, you can watch it still.
Excellent.
You have something for everyone.
And I'm going to end on that note, because talking to all of you, it is something for everyone. Thought-provoking in this room, thought-provoking on all of the panels that I've had. The sense of imagination, the sense of trying to cure reality, if you will, through fantasy is really breathtaking in terms of your work. All of you, I wish you all the best. I can't wait to see your films. Please come and see me at the event, or send us screeners so we can learn more about your movies. All the best to you, and here's to great success with these and all of your projects. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Have a
God
wonderful
bless.
day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.